How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be going over useful rares from each faction. Today's faction is going to be that of the Barbarians. So to start off today, we are going to head down to our rares. We're going to start with none other than Marked. Marked's a really good champion with an A1 with a small decreased defense on a small chance. However, Bookie App, 80% decreased defense on A1's not bad at all. And then decreased accuracy on all enemies. However, what's really good is her A3. Puts block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. It's on a 3-turn cooldown and an increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. So when it comes to rares, it's really hard to get that block debuffs, but she is a valid option when it comes to the rares for this faction. Next up is going to be not Eldor, is going to be none other than Tragor. His A1 puts an increased attack on him for 2 turns if it's critical. His A2 attacks an enemy twice with a 20 books up to 30% chance to stun. Not really, a good kit so far. However, his A3 has a 30% chance, books up to 40, of increasing the cooldown of all of each target's skills by 2 turns. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and it's only a 40% chance. With Sniper, you could make it up to, I believe, 45. But for early game, getting a chance to put everyone's cooldowns or all their skills on cooldown can be very helpful. He's not someone I would put probably more than like 40, maybe level 50, but for a beginner or someone who is in need of champions, he can be a valid option. From there, we are going to go to who I nicknamed the King of Provoke, and that is Sentinel. Reason why is because his A1 has a 60, books up to 85% chance of placing Provoke for 1 turn if the attack is critical. So you use Sniper for the mastery, and you now have a 90% chance to provoke on an A1. And all you have to do for it is make sure that he's critting. His A2 attacks all enemies, has a chance of putting decreased attack and heal reduction for 2 turns, but it's really that A1 that we're really focusing on. Then his passive is heals his champion by 10% of their HP at the start of their turn, and the heal can be critical. It's on a 2-turn cooldown, but you build him tanky and fast with 100% crit rate, and he can go through and just provoke people. And you put him in like a counterattack set, so he's constantly hitting people when they hit him, and he can crowd control everyone. From there, we are going to go next to a campaign farmable War Maiden. War Maiden is a great champion. She's got a A1 with a chance to put a small poison, A2 that puts increased attack on this champion and puts an extra hit if critical. But really it's her A3. Attacks all enemies, books up to 100% chance, putting the big version of decreased defense for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. She's campaign farmable, meaning that you can get her by going into the actual campaign, and I believe it's not Godfrey's Crossing, it's the Deadlands. But as you can see, she is a farmable champion right here, and so you can go through and farm any of these stages for a chance to get her, meaning it'll be easy to book her with multiple copies and whatnot, and allow you to basically go through and have a reliable decreased defense on 100%. Next, after War Maiden, we are going to go over to Anointed. His A1 is the 3-time hitter, great for Fire Knight, with a chance of putting freeze. 25% chance, 3 hits, not bad. His A2 attacks an enemy twice, books up to 100% chance of stealing a buff from the target. And his A3 fills the turn meter of all allies and puts increased crit rate on them for 2 turns. So, a little bit of turn boost, but he's really good for early game Fire Knight when you're just needing a way to break through that shield. Next up, we are going to go to a classic in Soulbond Boyer. AoE A1, with an extra 25% chance of critting. A2, attacks one enemy, extra 25% chance of critting, ignores 75% of the target's defense. Throw her in with, I believe it's Savage set, and you almost have 100%, if not, actually I believe with Savage set that is over 100% ignore defense on the target, so it's going to hit really hard. Then her A3 attacks an enemy, extra 25% chance of critting, has a books up to 100% chance of fully depleting the target's turn meter. So for bosses like Fire Knight, Spider, anywhere where you need turn meter depletion, she'll be taking the entire thing. And since she only needs 75% crit rate, it'll be a lot easier to build her. One of my favorite builds to use with her is in a stun set because of that AoE on the A1. It allows for her to basically go through and crowd control people, and then when you need, you have a really hard-hitting skill there. You don't have to grab like a Savage set. You can get War Master, or not War Master, I'm pulling a blank on what the mastery is. It would be none other than Helm Smasher to ignore the extra 25%. Either way, she's still going to hit really hard and do a lot of damage and be able to crowd control. Overall, definitely worth taking to at least 50, probably 60. Even endgame players use her in a lot of content where you need either a rare champion or you have to crowd control. She's a really good champion nonetheless. From there, we're going to hop over to Skirmisher. A1 attacks twice, inflicts 15% damage against targets who have no active buffs. So if you're going first, very easy to do that because most of the time in wave stuff, they're not going to have any active buffs. A2 attacks an enemy, decreases their turn meter by 20% if the attack is critical. Very simple. And then A3 attacks all enemies and removes a random buff from each enemy. Now it's not a insanely good kit, but for what she brings as a rare, it can be very helpful in early game. Chance to, on a 3-turn cooldown, remove a random buff from every enemy can be very helpful. Being able to decrease turn meter is great for Fire Knight, and her A1 2-time hitter, well, the Fire Knight's not going to be self-buffing, so you got a 2-time hitter there, so she can help you get through the waves and then end up getting to the actual Fire Knight. And since she's Void Affinity, you don't have to worry about weak hitting. Last but not least, we're going to hop down to Scrapper. His A1 attacks an enemy, puts a shield on this champion for 2 turns equal to 5% of the damage inflicted if it's a crit. Very simply, you build him with 100% crit rate. He's providing a shield. Really good for Scarab boss, because that's going to allow him to attack without getting counterattacked. His A2 attacks an enemy and destroys the target's max HP by 30% of the damage dealt. Puts a shield on this champion for 2 turns equal to 30% of the damage if it's a crit. So you build him with 100% crit rate, and you got someone who's going to help you deal with that Scarab King. It's on a 2-turn cooldown also. You can throw him in a destroy set for that A1 as well, and every single attack he does is going to be destroying that max HP on that Scarab King. You don't have to worry about his attacks causing a counterattack, and he, with someone who can heal and whatnot and keep him alive, you're going to be able to go through and beat the boss even with just him and one other person to keep him alive. Heck, if you really want to, you could throw him in a regen set by himself, and he could probably solo the bosses when it comes to lower ends of the Doom Tower. And then his passive is increases the damage inflicted by this champion equal to the percentage of max HP destroyed on the target. So the farther along in the fight he goes, he is going to be able to go through and do more damage to the Scarab King boss. You build him really tanky with 100% crit rate, and I mean, you can throw him in either a destroy or a regen set, and he can either help go through and kill the boss, or he could even solo it on the lower levels. That's going to be all for today. We had a handful of them ranging from really good to okay. But when it comes down to it, there's a lot you can do in this game with rares. As always, we're happy to have you here. We are going for a goal of 50 subscribers right now, so if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Share it with anyone who has questions about Raid. We appreciate you coming, and if you have any champions in this Barbarians faction that I overlooked, or someone in here that you've used before, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about some of the ways you've used them. As always, thank you for joining. Keep on raiding.